let's assume in this talk that a day comes in the future when the borders of Vietnam open again and tourists can enter. Probably will happen sooner if you get vaccinated. And you decide as a retiree you're going to give it a try here. So what would your life be like here? I can't speculate about everyone's life, but let me give you a kind of my insights on what life in Nha Trang is like for someone of retirement age, specifically someone who's not married and who's an English speaker. It's probably not going to be easy for you if you're a really sociable type, if you don't want to spend a lot of time on your own. Especially Americans are not in very large numbers here, I don't think. There seems to be a bit more of an Australian community of expats and retirees, but at least in Nha Trang, Americans are not in large numbers. So in that respect, you probably need to be someone who's very comfortable being alone and spending a lot of time that way. I'm pretty comfortable that way, and possibly someone who was a little more in search of companionship would have gotten out more than I do and maybe found more. But from meeting a few foreigners here, the general feeling I get is that English speakers are not in large numbers here. And so you're probably going to find that much of your time is spent by yourself, or you might have a relatively small group of American friends who you get together with occasionally for a meal. I suppose there are groups that get together more often. I live in an area in the north where there's a number of Australians of retirement age, and some of them don't seem quite that old. And many of them get together regularly in some of the restaurants near here. And it seems that one of their main activities is drinking beer. And believe me, I have no problems with drinking beer, but I'm just not really an afternoon drinker, and I don't have a large group of people that I really want to see regularly. So yeah, the one activity for some retirees here, as in many other countries, is getting together with their buddies or their mates or whatever, and drinking beer and talking. For me, life here is more a matter of the getting in the water, snorkeling in the daytime, and spending a lot of the day in my apartment, which I find is pretty comfortable, and it's cooler than being out in the sunshine. And as probably anywhere I would be in the world, I tend to spend a lot of time online, looking at Facebook, YouTube, reading news, whatever happens to come up on the internet. So I suppose one of the advantages of the current time is that you don't have to feel too removed from the rest of the world, no matter where you are, thanks to the internet. And you can keep in touch with people around the world by Skype or messenger telephone if you'd like to talk, or by text messages on various platforms. So it's not like you're going to feel totally isolated from the world, but as far as physical face-to-face contact with people that you can talk to regularly, you're probably not going to find that as much. Possibly if you put the effort in to learn Vietnamese better, you would make some Vietnamese friends. I don't speak Vietnamese, so I haven't really made many Vietnamese friends at all. So yeah, I guess the question is, how do you spend your time wherever you're living now? And are you happy with that? And if your life these days is having a fairly large social network of people you get together with regularly, well, then you might find retirement in Vietnam, especially in Nha Trang, is a little harder to deal with. I have heard that Da Nang has much more of an American expat community, and I'm sure Ho Chi Minh City has people of many other, Americans and many other nationalities living there. So you would probably be able to arrange for a bit more of an expat community there. Nha Trang has tended to be mainly a Russian expat community, and so if you're not a Russian speaker, I would say you're going to feel a little bit left out there. So yeah, the general feeling I have is in Nha Trang, you're going to need to spend a lot of time on your own, and you're going to need to be able to amuse yourself in whatever way you do, and probably in ways that are solo activities such as reading, using the internet, watching videos or YouTube or Netflix, whatever your preferences for entertainment, and having kind of a cyber life, spending a lot of time online. And it's probably helpful if you have some kind of a hobby that you can do on your own, possibly art, photography, writing, music, things like that to keep you occupied. In general, though, I'd say Nha Trang is a very good place for outside activities, for going to the beach, for just walking. At night, the weather is usually quite pleasant, even in the hot season. Quite often, one of the advantages of Nha Trang is it's got a very nice breeze at night. As far as nightlife goes, I would say it's pretty much revolving around eating and drinking a bit. There is quite an active coffee house scene, coffee shop scene, and coffee shops seem to be a very major part of Vietnam society, although mostly they're frequented by Vietnamese people. And of course you can go in there, but you'll probably just be sitting solo, and whatever your choices of beverage, you can get fruit juices and smoothies and coffees and teas. So I don't know. I suppose some foreigners kind of like the coffee house scene, coffee shop scene. It hasn't really drawn me much other than to come in to one and have a coffee or a smoothie or possibly lunch at a place that serves food. So anyway, that's kind of my quick rundown on retirement life in Nha Trang. I tend to be back in my apartment by 10 o'clock at the latest usually, and And pretty much I spend my evenings on my computer or um, watching whatever happens to be on TV. Um, and that I'm content with that life. If I were a more sociable person, I might find something is lacking here. But I I don't really find that to be a big problem for me. But you might want to think that over before you consider retirement in Nha Trang, uh, because it may come as a shock to you that you are relatively isolated. If you're an American or British person here, I would think. Australians seem to do a little bit better, at least in this neighborhood, in that there seems to be a fairly tight knit Australian community around here. Not a big one, maybe, from my estimation, no more than 10 people that seem to show up at these places who appear to be Australian. Um, I think I've only met about 5 Americans in Nha Trang so far. Again, I haven't been very outgoing, and I haven't really been looking to try to meet people, but I do think it's kind of an unusual thing to run into an American in Nha Trang, for better or worse.